Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the After Hours Gaming League. This is your host, JW Schmo from Team Raytheon. We're in week number 6 of season number 4 of the After Hours Gaming League, and Raytheon is 4-1, coming into a very important matchup against Google. Now, Google is also 4-1, so both teams are going to be fighting for the number 2 slot behind IBM in their division. Let's go right into the action. In the upper left-hand corner, playing the blue Zerg for Google, it is Raytheon himself. And in the upper right-hand corner, playing for Raytheon as the red Zerg, is Dan. And he just happens to be the man. Now, a little bit of history here. Both of these teams are currently fighting for the second slot in the division. They have both lost to IBM, ironically enough, providing both of these teams with a 4-1 record. If it were not for IBM, both teams here would be without a loss. And so this is a fairly impressive matchup today between two fairly strong teams. Raytheon for Google being one of their top players. He's been a Masters League before. He knows what he's doing in the ZVZ. And Dan the Man, also Masters in a previous life during Wings of Liberty, coming into this game with being away from the meta game for a while. Gonna see if he can bring out the hurt for Team Raytheon and help them onto a win. So both of these companies very strong, as you know. Raytheon, a defense contractor. Google, a search advertising provider. Now Google, for this AHGL charity tournament, is going to be supporting Child's Play. Now Child's Play is dedicated to improving the lives of children in hospitals around the world through the kindness and generosity of the video game community and the power of play. And while we're playing here today, Raytheon lays down the spawning pool and the extractor, as well as going for the natural. Dan, who happens to be the man, is getting his hatchery. He is a little bit ahead on the hatchery. However, he is behind on his extractor, so he's going to be behind on his gas count. And he is also going to be just a hair behind on that spawning pool. So typical play out of this natural expansion is going to be Zergling Baneling bust of some sort. So you're going to see a lot of speed Zerglings coming in to play, and then followed up by some slow Banelings to try and catch the drones, unaware of the situation at hand. Now Dan the Man immediately getting a set of, oh look at this, 6 Zerglings. Interesting. It looks like he's going to be going for some early harass against his Zerg opponent, and we'll see if he's able to deliver on that decision. The first 6 Zerglings do pop, and in that intermediary, Raytheon is laying down his metabolic boost, and Dan the Man is getting his first spine crawler. I was about to say sunken colony, but this is not Broodlord. This is what is this? Heart of the Swarm. And oh, this is interesting. A Roach Warren is going down for Dan the Man. So some interesting Wings of Liberty metagame going on here from Team Raytheon against a very decisive Baneling Nest coming down from Raytheon. So this will be interesting. Now these roaches that Dan the Man invariably will have to build to defend are going to be much slower than the Banelings and the Zerglings. This is going to give Raytheon the advantage of speed. However, Dan the Man's roaches are going to be able to take an absolute pounding from any sort of aggressive stance coming from Raytheon. And so the question now really becomes, are these roaches going to be used for the offensive, or are they going to be used for the defensive? And is Raytheon going to take his advantage of having the Baneling Nest way ahead of Dan the Man's, be able to get in there, sneak behind his main defensive line, and take out the drones? And now the initial attack here from Relkin, not getting too much coverage against these Zerglings. He does see that these roaches are in play, and he does react accordingly, laying down 3 spine crawlers at his natural. He's expecting an advance from Dan the Man, and if Dan the Man comes up forward, he is going to be in a little bit of an awkward position because Relkin is going to be ready and waiting with his metabolic boosted Zerglings. And Relkin, in that same moment, is going to be dropping down a huge amount of Zerglings here. And he's going to be able to immediately jump into Baneling production to take out any of these support Zerglings from Dan the Man. A little bit of engagement, a little bit of hope. Dan the Man is running out of time right now. These Sunkens are going to be able to effectively shut down Dan the Man's attack. And now Relkin is going for... This looks like a run-by, ladies and gentlemen. Relkin isn't even going to try and defend his natural. He's going to go for the main attack right here. Dan the Man bringing in Zerglings, trying to get through that poke, but Relkin's 2 queens are... Oh my goodness. A GG from Dan the Man. At only the 7:30 mark, Relkin must have scared him away. And game number 1, we don't even get out of the first part of the song, and game number 1 is going to go to Google, putting Raytheon behind for one of the first times this season after the first match. I don't even think we had a major attack there. There was like a poke, and then a run by, and that was pretty much it. So ladies and gentlemen, less than 8 minutes in, I didn't even get to talk about math counts, and Raytheon's already down 0-1 against a very formidable, very scary Google team. Let's stay tuned for game number 2 between 7 Deuce and Puzzle on, let's see, Yansu, and see if Raytheon is able to recover from what must have been a very upsetting game number 1 for Dan, who also happens to be the man.